everybody, this is Heather Sides. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Spokane, Washington. Hang on, I just realized I forgot to put my computer on mute. There we go. That way you don't have to hear me in stereo. And it looks like I'm showing up, so that's good. Give me just a minute. I am pulling it up on my computer to make sure that I can see all of your comments. Remember that when you comment on this video, whether it's during the live and you participate in conversation, or make a comment even watching a replay on YouTube or here on Facebook, as long as you comment, your name will go into the drawing for the prize that I will draw next week. So every week I do this, and I like to give everybody a chance. So like I said, even if you're watching on the replay, you can get in on the action just by leaving a comment for me, even if it's something as simple as "Hi from Spokane, Washington," something like that, just to let me know you're here. So let's see, it looks like I'm up. Hey Marcy, hey Eric. Eric, it's totally fine that you guys can only watch the first few minutes. I know you guys have a lot going on with your trip right now. I hope you're doing lots of fun and exciting things. And I can't wait to hear about it, though Talina has been giving us little updates here and there on Facebook. So I hope you're having a great time. And let's see. Hey Sharon, welcome. Good to see you. Let's see. So while we're waiting a few minutes for people to get on, let me see what exciting stuff I have to tell you. Let's see. So the puppy, update on the puppy. He has this lion that you can kind of see on the bed behind me. I'll move out of the way and you can see it back there. I had to hide it up on the bed. Do you remember pillow pets? You can fold them in half and they're like a stuffed animal, but if you unfold them, then they're flat and they're a big pillow. And that's what that is. Well, my daughter, that was my daughter's when she was younger. And then when she decided she didn't want it anymore, she gave it to me for the golden retriever that I had before, Charlie. And then after Charlie passed away, I just couldn't bear to throw it out. And so I gave it to my parents, who had just gotten a new puppy. And she loved it for a while, but then she started, she's one of those dogs that tears apart all the stuffed animals and stuff. So they took it away from her with intentions of sewing it back up, and it just hadn't happened, and she forgot about it, and that was fine. Well, then I got Phineas, and so I got it back, and he lays on it, and it's like his bed, and he loves his lion. And it's hysterical because you can see how big it is, and he drags it all over the house wherever he wants it to be. It's the funniest thing. Anyway, one of the seams split apart, and so he isn't tearing holes in it, but he does pull the stuffing out of the holes that are there. And so I took it away because I need to stitch it back up. Hey Robin, welcome. I have to stitch it back up so that he can't pull the stuffing out. And I hid it up on the bed. Only he's tall enough now, he can stand up on his back legs and look at the bed and see it and cry and cry and cry. So I need to get that fixed. But in the meantime, what's really funny is he has taken to laying down and sleeping in the bathroom because he likes the bath mat in there. Which cracks me up. So I was having to move the bath mat into my office when I was in here so he'd have a place to lay. All of our floors are hardwood. So, they're not super comfortable for him to lay on. There's no carpet or anything. So I was bringing the bath mat in here. And I finally decided that I would buy him his own bath mat so that I could put the one back in the bathroom and just keep it there. So he got a new bath mat today. That we'll keep in my office. So he's very excited by that. He loves his new bath mat. And then once I fix the lion, I'll just keep it in the living room because he typically likes to take it out to the living room by the windows. We have these big picture windows, and he likes to lay on it by the window and spy on the neighbors. So, so that's been kind of funny. don't know if there's really anything else going on. We had to buy him a new crate because he's gotten too big for the one I was using. So he got that today. It was like Christmas here. New crate, new bath mat. It was all very exciting, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't really think we have much else going on. So looks like we've had a few people join us. Hey Tracy, hey Tammy, welcome. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I am going to go ahead and flip this camera around now, and I'm going to go over just a few things, housekeeping kind of stuff, and then we'll get going on our cards. Remember to join in on the conversation so that you can get your name in the drawing for next week's prize. So let's go ahead and turn this around and get going. Oops. Whoa, hang on here, folks. There we go. I think we're almost sort of kind of lined up. Oh, let me move this out of the way. Just a few things I guess I got to do that I hadn't prepared very well for. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Welcome, Kathy. It's good to see you. Let's see. I don't know if anybody has shared to the group yet, Tammy. If you are willing to do that, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, so just a reminder, in case you, have been living under a rock and didn't know, our new annual catalog came out May 3rd. There is lots of wonderful, gorgeous, amazing products in here. And I'm slowly but surely starting to add them to my collection of things that I have. And thank you, Tammy. I appreciate it. And so I'm going to start sharing more and more of the products and what we can do. Robin says she wants it all. And, I can't say you're wrong for feeling that way. I think you are also not alone for feeling that way. There is, like I said, lots of amazing products in here. And I just, every time I go through it, I find new things that I, have to have. So tonight we're going to be using some of those new products. And I'll point to where some of them are in the catalog as we go. Paper pumpkin. I got my paper pumpkin kit today, and oh, that's true. We've got the mini pre-order next month. Marcy reminded us that if you are a demonstrator, hey Elaine, welcome. If you are a demonstrator, one of the perks is that you get to pre-order a select amount of things from new catalogs before they come out, so that you can start preparing the various things to show to people and things like that. And so next month, as a demonstrator, we're able to start ordering from the new mini catalog that will begin in July. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so back to Paper Pumpkin. I got mine today. I am so excited by this one. I knew that it was centered around our new in colors. Beyond that, I really didn't know what to expect. I am so excited by this one. I'm going to show you some of the goodies in it really quick, and also let you know that on Saturday at 6 p.m. I will be doing my monthly live with alternate Paper Pumpkin ideas. I will put out some social media things about this just to remind everybody, but it will be here, same place at facebook.com/stamp happenings, and you can see some of the alternate ideas that I have for this kit. There's these awesome little stamps. I love it. There's the big ones that say happy and you, and then there are these little partial sayings that you can put with the words happy and you, like to celebrate your day, happy to celebrate your day, or happy to have you in my life, or just for you, you make me happy, and you can do anything. And then these just little splatter marks. I think this is going to be a really fun set to work with. And you get some little dots in the in colors, and some dimensionals, and some tear and tape. The color of ink that comes in this one is basic gray. And then you've got envelopes in all 5 of the new in colors. You've got several card bases. I love that some of them are just basic white. That opens a floodgate of things that we'll be able to do with these. There's some amazing die cuts in here, more card bases, die cuts of different sized banners, more die cuts with sayings on them. These are fun little die cuts. Okay, this is fun. I have to show you these together. At first I looked at these card bases and I was like, what is that weird cutting? Did I accidentally get some, a mistake in my box? No, these go with that. Isn't that very, very cool? They might go with, oh yeah, you could use them with this too. Where these die cuts, this die cut has this piece has a die cut that says you. There's also these card fronts where it's kind of the outline of a gold banner with little gold splatters. These sheets that also have a circle die cut in them. These, which I haven't really looked at yet, but I think they might be like little pockets that you can make. So there is some really fun stuff in this kit, and I can't wait to dig in and start playing with it, which is probably what I will be doing with my evening tomorrow. Also, if you are not a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, next month's Paper Pumpkin kit looks like it's going to be kind of a springy floral theme. And it says it's going to have watercolor designs and heartfelt sentiments. So I'm guessing it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful kit. And like I said, if you are not subscribed yet, you can subscribe to Paper Pumpkin on my website at heathersides.stampinup.net, and you can sign up for a 1-month trial. You can also sign up for 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. And of course, like with anything that you buy in bulk, the longer stretch of time you sign up for, the bigger your savings. So Paper Pumpkin is a great way to either get started if you're not a stamper yet. It comes with everything that you need. Or for someone who wants to have something on hand to make quick and easy cards, or for someone who likes to think outside the box and come up with alternate ideas other than what Stampin' Up! Has provided with ideas for you to make. So it's a really fun little kit, and it's about $23. Now we have our drawing from all of last week's commenters. Thank you, Robin. Robin says she loves my Paper Pumpkin alternate idea lives. If you have not watched them yet, even if you aren't a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, it can give you some great ideas for just cards in general. So I encourage you to hop on and watch it. If you can't watch it live, you can always watch a replay, either here or on my YouTube channel, Stamp Happenings. So keep that in mind. I like to provide all sorts of fun ideas. And thank you for the compliment, Robin. I really appreciate that. So this week's winner from the drawing is Kathy Cornea. And Kathy, you're getting this pack of Designer Series paper. It's the Oh So Ombre, and you can see how it's got a little bit of this ombre effect, and it comes in several different colors. The pack is sealed, so I don't want to open it for you. I'll let you do that. I have your address, so I will pop this in the mail to you. And thank you for being a regular watcher of my videos and supporting me. That really helps me a lot, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on this week's cards, shall we? Okay, so the first one that I'm going to show you guys is a bit of a fun fold. We're going to use the Go-To Greetings. I absolutely love, love, love this set because it's got 4 different sayings in 3 different fonts. And actually one of the fonts has 5 sayings because they threw in a little hello. So this is a great set because, like I said, depending on what you're doing, you know, sometimes depending on what the card purpose is, it affects what font you want to use. Like, you don't want a super scripty, flowery font for a kid's birthday card, right? So, you know, it's got the different fonts to choose from. So I'm really excited about this set. And it is one of the new sets in this year's new annual catalog. I'm also using the Scalloped Contours dies, and this is a carryover from last year. It's in this year's catalog as well. I'm using the big one right here, and then this second from the smallest one. Let me pull it off so you know what I'm talking about. This little guy, I'm using this one too. So let's go ahead and oh, I want to show you the designer series paper that I'm using too, because it's beautiful, beautiful paper. So let me move these out of the way. And the designer series paper we're using tonight is this one. It kind of reminds me of a patina sort of look to it. I really love it. All of the designer series paper in this pack, one side has gold foil details, and then the other side is just a pretty matte design. And let me see what I did with my catalog, and I can tell you what page it's on. It is on page 134 in the catalog. It's called Texture Chic. You can see it right here, the various prints that are available, and you can't see it quite as well as you can see it in the catalog or online, or better yet, buy yourself a pack and you can see it in person because it's really, truly gorgeous paper. Okay, so to make our card, looks like my paper got folded up a little bit. Let's start with the envelope. We're going to glue this little guy down. Okay. It doesn't take a whole lot. Our Tombow glue is pretty strong. It doesn't take a whole lot to dry. It gives you a little bit of dry time, or a little, you know, where it's still wet, so you can move stuff around if you need to. But then after that, it gets tacky pretty fast, so you don't have to wait forever for it to dry. It's really nice. Okay, so I've got that little strip on, and oh, it looks like it's a tiny bit crooked. See, I can just lift it right up and realign everything. And now I'm going to go ahead and trim off the extra. Normally my strip that I cut, just so you know, is 2.5 by 6 inches, which is nice and easy to do with the designer series paper because it's 12 inches long. So I do my cards in 2s because I make one for my sample and then I make one for to make with you. So I just do a 2.5 inch strip and cut it in half. That works very well. Yes, we all love our Tombow, Marcy. It is such a fabulous adhesive. I really like it. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Let it dry. This is the card we're making. I guess I forgot to really go into detail to show you what we're doing. So it's kind of a fun fold here, and it opens up like this. So I'm going to do the cutting. Normally I have all my pieces cut ahead of time, but I'm going to cut it with you just so that you can see what I am doing. So let's see here, move some of the stuff out of the way. But you can see before I cut anything, this card really only has 5 pieces to it. That's it. 6 if you want to count the strip that I put on the envelope. So very, very easy to do. And it looks gorgeous, and I just love how simple it is. And I found that with a lot of cards, to tell you the truth. The ones that look super complicated are usually pretty simple once you know what to do. So, welcome, Colleen. It's nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so first you just take a piece of cardstock that is half of a sheet. It's 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it in the middle at 4 1/4, right? And then what I'm going to do is I have to grab my trimmer. Marcy, you're going to like this because I know today on your live, you mentioned marking up your paper and such. That's what we're going to do here. I'm going to move my paper out of the way for a moment. Okay, so the first thing I do, put this up where you can see it. This, like I said, is 5.5 inches wide. Half of that is 2 3/4. So what I want to do is just line it up here. Well, what I could do is I could do it. Let me make sure this is in the screen. It is. Okay, so put it at 2 3/4 inches. And then right where the channel is for the blade, I'm just making a nice little tick mark right there so that I know where the halfway point is. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my glasses so I can see what I'm doing. Thanks, Colleen. That's really sweet. I'm excited to share tonight's cards with you. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am lining up that little mark I made as well as the score mark up here, lining them both up in the channel that the blade is going to go in, okay? So I do that, and I'm cutting off that piece. We're going to use that piece. Now, I'm going to take this side, and I'm going to do the same thing. Line up the channel, or line up the tick mark and the score line right in the channel, and cut, and keep that piece. I found that when I do that, it pretty much cuts off the little tick mark, but if it doesn't do it completely, you can just go like that and erase it right off, okay? So, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of designer series paper. This is the back of that. Isn't that just gorgeous? I'm in love with this paper. Okay, so on this one now, this piece, what you want to do is normally I would make the piece on the front of the card about 1/4 inch smaller than the main card front, right? Like if I was just laying it on like this, I would only have 1/4 inch margin. With this particular design, you want to add another 1/4 inch to that, okay? So I'm actually cutting it 1/2 inch smaller than this measurement. So this measurement is 5.5 by 4 1/4. So we're going to cut, so I cut this one at 5 3 3/4, okay? Does that make sense? Now what I'm going to do is the same thing I did on the front. I want to mark that halfway point. So half of 5 is 2.5. So I'm going to line it up there, make a little tick mark, and we're going to do the exact same thing to cut it as we did with the card front. So I've got my little tick mark there and the corner of the paper, and we're just going to cut. And we're going to do it again on the other side. Line up the tick mark and the corner of the paper. There we go. So now I have 3 pieces of my designer series paper. Just like that, okay? Now, you know, usually I start out my lives with a nice clean piece of paper here, and I forgot to tear it off. And this one is kind of lumpy and bumpy, and so I'm going to go ahead and tear this off. You deserve a fresh sheet of paper, guys. Oh, good, Kathy. I'm glad you liked that tip. I do try to, throw some tips out there here and there. And Marcy, speaking of tips, in your life today, you said, I wonder if Heather has an idea for that, because Heather gives all sorts of good tips. I do have an idea for what you asked about. So keep watching. I'm going to point it out. Not on this card, but on other cards we're making tonight. Okay, so now I'm folding this in half. And then just, go on it with my bone folder so that it's nice and a crisp edge. And now I'm taking this piece the middle piece that I cut everything off of, right? And we're just going to glue it right there like that. Now, a little tip for you. Normally, I do prefer to use my, my go-to adhesive is my seal. But sometimes when I have little corners like this, especially if it's a triangular piece, I really want to make sure I get adhesive in the corner there, right? And so I'll use my liquid glue for that because it's easier to get it in the corners. Okay. Now let's go ahead and lay it down. The adhesive, the liquid adhesive allows me to kind of wiggle it around a little bit, make sure that my margins are relatively the same everywhere, and kind of play with it a little. Okay, next I'm going to take these pieces and glue them on to these pieces. Okay, so make sure I get the right ones so they go the right direction. Let's glue those down. And in just a moment, I'm going to move my camera again because I just have to show you guys something really cute. Okay, so putting a little bit, it looks like I'm putting a lot of adhesive on here, but I'm barely lifting the tip of my glue bottle off of the paper. So there really isn't a lot coming out. That allows me to get good coverage, putting it everywhere, but not ending up with so much glue that it warps the paper. Because that drives me crazy when the paper gets warped because it got too wet. Let's do this one now. This card really is pretty quick to do. The time-consuming part is just, lining it up to cut those triangles off. Okay. So now let's move that out of the way. Now, before we do the next step, I have to, like I said, move my camera to show you guys something super duper cute. Remember, I was just telling you guys about Phineas's bath mat that he has, and I bought him his own bath mat for my office so that we could keep the one that goes in the bathroom, right? Okay, so hang on, I'm gonna move my camera here. Pardon my fingers. Okay, look at this, you guys. There he is on his new bath mat. Is that not the cutest thing in the whole wide world? Okay, I just had to show you that because he's just so darn cute. Okay, all right, back to business. Okay, let's go ahead and put our pieces together here. Now these pieces, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just crossing them. Okay, so they were the pieces like this, right? I'm just crossing them so that they overlap and putting them on here like that. Easy peasy. So again, I'm going to use my liquid adhesive because I want to be able to get those corners of the triangle. And I'm only putting adhesive about halfway down, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and line it up. It does take a minute to kind of figure out exactly where it goes because you don't want it going off the edges of the card too far any direction, because if it does, then it won't fit in the envelope. So you want to make sure that every point of the triangle still is within the card itself, okay? I know, Marcy says that the card looks complicated, and that's what I was saying is It looks complicated, but it's really very easy. Because look, there we go. Ta-da! Easy peasy, right? Now, just for something fun for the inside, you could put just, your regular square on the inside like I often do. But I saw Chris Ann Tomaso, another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, made this card using different stamps and different designer series paper. But I cased it. For those of you who don't know what casing is, there's a lot of different definitions of casing. It's an acronym, CASE. I learned it was copy and steal everything. I've heard copy and share everything. I've heard copy and selectively edit. So the point is you get the idea somewhere else and you make it your own. So, okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and stick this on the inside of the card. But when Chrisanne made hers, she used this on the inside. And I thought it added such a beautiful touch, especially because you can see it from the front of the card with those corners cut out. So let's put this in there just like so. And actually, you know what, Marcy? I can tell you my tip with this card. Marcy asked in her video if there was a tip for, lining these up so your margins are relatively the same. What I do is I like to, let me do that again so I can show you what I'm talking about. I don't just lay it down and go, boop, there you go, because I will get it off center, crooked, whatever. So I kind of lay it down so it's on one end here, like this. And you can see I've still got it up. And what I'm looking for at this point, before I really put it down, is, first of all, does it look like I've got the same margins here and here on both sides? And does it look like I've got the same margin right here and here? Because I haven't really laid it down yet, I can move it around if I need to. So that's my little tip for that. It's adhered kind of in a corner, so it allows me to wiggle it a little if I need to. It also, because I don't have it adhered everywhere, makes it easy to lift it up if I have to completely reposition it. So that's my little tip for lining stuff up that way. And not just the inside of the card, the outside as well. Okay, so that's our card base, right? So now we're going to go ahead and personalize this just a little bit. And for this, I'm going to use Versamark ink. It's our watermark ink. I'm going to use some gold embossing powder. I am also going to use my embossing buddy. Stampin' Up! Does not carry these. Marcy says she tends to plop. You know what? You're not alone. You're not the only plopper out there. And that's my recommendation. Don't plop it. Just kind of line it up in one corner so you can still wiggle it and move it, but also you don't have it stuck down so much that it's difficult if you have to totally pick it up and reposition. Okay, so what this is it's a little bag of some sort of powder that what it does is it takes the static out of your paper and it makes it so that your powder, or your embossing powder, when you put it on, doesn't stick everywhere. And so that just gives you a little bit cleaner embossed look. And you just rub it on there like that. I was starting to say, Stampin' Up! Used to carry these. We no longer carry them, but I just bought mine on Amazon. It wasn't that expensive. I want to say it was like $7 or $8, and it's worth every penny. So if you like to do heat embossing, I really recommend going ahead and getting yourself one. Okay, so the stamp we're going to use is this scripty looking thank you. Oops, I need my little scrap piece of paper. I'm going to do this on my scrap, and you'll see why in just a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to just stamp this on. I want to line it up because it's just barely the right size. Stamp it down. Now, another thing that's really important, close your ink pad right away, because if you don't do it right away, you might forget. And the thing about the Versamark is it is very very sticky. And once you start pouring out the embossing powder, you don't want to accidentally get that powder on your ink pad because it makes a huge mess. It's hard to get it off. In fact, you won't be able to get it off. So just save yourself the heartache and close your ink pad and put it away, even if you're going to use it again soon. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and pour the powder on. Now you can see I'm pouring it in excess, and it looks like it's going to be a huge waste. But I just put it on a piece of paper that's folded in half because it makes it easy to scrape it up. Poured it on there. Now I'm going to flick it to get some of those extra pieces off of there. And see, because I used my embossing buddy, I don't have the little specks of it everywhere. I think I want to do a second coat just to make sure it's nice and thick. And again, you might be thinking, oh, she's wasting all that powder again. Nope, I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to set that aside for just a moment. Now my piece of paper, I already folded it in half, so it has a nice little crease right down the middle. And I can pour it right back into my container. Just like so. So it doesn't waste it at all. Now, let's go ahead and heat this up and watch the powder melt. If you have ever watched done heat embossing, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say watching it melt, because that's just one of those things that gives stampers the ooey gooeys inside. I love it. Okay, so bear with me for the noise for a minute. And actually what I'm going to do, because this is a small piece, I want to hold on to my paper so it doesn't like blow away. But I don't want my fingers near it because it gets very, very hot. You know, on a bigger piece, you can kind of hold it down with your finger and it doesn't matter. But on little ones, your finger's so close, it gets very hot. So, you don't need to be crazy and, you know, going all over like that. You just kind of put it in the first area that you're trying to melt the powder. You know that it's melting because it'll start getting shiny. It looks very powdery and grainy before it melts. So you can definitely see the difference as it melts. I'm trying to get this up close to the camera so that hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. And there we go. Isn't that beautiful? I love the heat embossed look. And yes, it does cause the paper to kind of bend a little bit, but as it cools, it'll flatten back out. And you're going to be gluing it down, so that'll flatten it out as well. So I have this piece that I cut out with the dies. And actually, before I glue this on, I'm going to take two of my Stampin' Blends. I have the dark Pool Party, and I also have the dark Petal Pink, because those are the two colors in this section of the paper. This particular piece of paper, on one half of it, on one side, it's the pink and the kind of Pool Party. On the other side, it's more of the Pale Papaya and this green. So you could go with either color, really, depending on which paper you use. So anyway, I have the Petal Pink, and I'm just going to go ahead and flick. I'm a flicker. And what this does is it just kind of helps, it helps it so that it kind of coordinates with your designer series paper a little bit better, but it also makes it so the white isn't quite so stark. And I'm doing this with both colors, as you can see. See? And you do want to let it kind of sit for a moment, let that ink soak in, because sometimes when you flick like that, the ink is still on the surface, and then you put your finger on it and it'll smudge it a little bit. It only takes a moment or two to soak in, but do give it that little tiny bit of time. Okay, so now I'm going to glue this down. And I'm using the same trick that Marcy that I just described for doing those bigger pieces. I did the same thing here. I laid down a corner, lined it up, and then pushed it down. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and put it on the front, but I want to pop it up a little bit. So I'm going to use some dimensionals. You know what else would have been good to use here is my foam adhesive sheets, which I did finally restock, but I've been out of them for so long I forget to use them now. Okay, and you know me, I like to use a lot of dimensionals. If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. And yeah, that saying has got me in trouble a time or two. But for now, we're going to pretend that it is the wisest advice you've ever received, okay? So now I'm going to pull the backs off. I have a little garbage here to the side of my desk, so that's why you're not seeing anything on screen right now. Okay, so now I'm just going to stick this right up here. There we go. Yes, I agree, Marcy. I wish they would make the foam adhesive packs more sheets. There's only like 6 in a pack. And even if they upped it to 10, I would be so happy. And of course I'd pay more for it. I just would like to have more in a pack. Okay, so I've put that on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2021-2023 in color opal rounds. These are new this year in the catalog. And I'm going to go ahead and use the petal pink ones and my, where'd it go? Ooh, this is bad, you guys. I cannot find my take your pick tool. And you guys know, oh, here it is. You guys know I use it for everything. It would be catastrophic if I lost this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take, let's see. Oh, I'm not going to use the petal pink. I lied. I'm going to use this pool party. Well, actually, yeah, I think this is pool party. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm sticking with that story, guys. Okay, and it looks like I'm just going to use the small ones here. Another trick with embellishments like this, go ahead and place them, but don't push them down really firmly yet, because then you can look and say, oh, you know what, I think it would look a little better if I moved it here or there. You can easily, if you haven't pushed it down really hard, you can easily lift it back off and move it. Now that I look at it and I go, okay, I'm happy with that placement, now I'll push them down harder, okay? So, now we have card number 1. What do you think, you guys? Nice little fun fold. That was super easy to make, right? So, go ahead and set this one off to the side, and we'll move on to card number 2. Now, card number 2 uses a couple of punches. One that is new and one that's been around for a while. I absolutely love this. Thank you guys for your comments. I'm glad that you guys like that last card. Marcy, you said you're a pusher too. So you're a pusher and a plopper. You know, we all have our crosses to bear, and I guess those are yours. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to use the Banner Pick-a-Punch. I love this. You guys have seen me use it a million times. I will be so sad when the day comes that they decide to retire it. It will just make me cry. Then we have this alphabet set that I'm so excited about. It's got the letters, it's got the numbers, and it's even got some of those kind of funky letters that they use in foreign languages. So if you, if you're writing something in a foreign language, you can use them. I don't see myself writing in foreign languages since I don't know any, but should I suddenly decide to become proficient in some other language, I'm ready. There's also some symbols here. And then these, okay, these are awesome. They're little frames that go around the letters if you choose to use them. We're going to use them tonight, so you'll see what I'm talking about. And even some more symbols and even the little stars. All of these fit in these little frames, okay? Now we have this adorable little punch, okay? How cute is this, right? It also fits perfectly to punch out the frames, to punch out the numbers, the letters, the symbols, whatever. So you can buy this as a bundle, the alphabet and the punch, or you can buy them separately. But why would you want to do that? You want to buy them together, buy the bundle, because then you can punch everything. That's my recommendation. Okay, so move these out of the way for a moment. Let me show you the card we're doing. So this card, here we go. My son told me that this one reminds him of Christmas because of all the red and green. This uses the Sweet Sorbet, which is one of our new in colors. And let me show you the paper that it uses. This one is using a lovely in linen paper right here. It's on page 133. And I really like this. I think it's just really versatile designs that do all the work for you so that you can create some pretty simple cards, simple to make, that don't necessarily look so simple. So another beautiful, beautiful pack of Designer Series paper. Okay, so this is our card. There's the inside. Let's go ahead and get going on that. Okay, so we've got our card base, which is the 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4, right? We've got that. Let's go ahead and fold it. And for now, we'll set that out of the way. Let's do our envelope. I got smart and I tied all the little bows ahead of time, just because sometimes it can take a while to tie 6 little bows like that. So now let's get all these little pieces out of the way. Let's do our envelope. Hello, Mary. Welcome. I'm glad you like this card. The fun thing about this card is really you could do it with any Designer Series paper. Okay. So I've got that lined up. Oh, it doesn't want to stick down. Well, you know what? You know what I say, show it who's boss. Add a little extra glue. Well, that might be a little more glue than I bargained for, but okay. Now we'll cut off the excess here. Oops. I'm going to just cut some of that extra off. Okay, there's our envelope, and we'll set it aside. Now let's start piecing this together. We'll piece together the pieces. That's a lot of word piece, right? Oh, good, Sharon. Sharon says I've made her a fan of no naked envelopes. Yay! Okay, so let's go ahead and start gluing down the pieces that we can, because we're going to end up at a point where we have a ton of little pieces, and we just don't want to have to deal with those, right? Or we're going to deal with them. We don't want to deal with those and all these other pieces too. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have this little strip, it's a 1/2 inch, and I'm going to glue it down to the bottom of this piece. This is going to go in the inside of our card. Okay. That's lined up. Now let's cut off the extra on the ends. There we go. And now we're just going to glue this down to the inside. You know, I don't often put messages inside my card, you know, stamped messages inside my card, just because I have rather large handwriting, and so I need the room for the handwritten message that I want to leave. But don't forget about that as an option. You can always stamp your sentiment on the inside. So I'm lining this up. I want to make sure my margins are all relatively the same. Lay it down, and there we go. Now we got this front piece, got the pale papaya and my designer series paper here. Let's go ahead and glue that down. And this just has a border on the sides. It does go all the way to the end. So here I'm lining it up. I want to make sure that my margin at the top and my margin at the bottom are pretty close to the same. Looks good to me. Okay. All right, now what we're going to do is go ahead and glue this right down to the center of our card, just like that. Lining it up all the way to the edge because we want this piece to go all the way to the edge. And we're kind of doing the same thing on the card front as we did when we put these two pieces together. Line it up to make sure the margins at the top and the bottom are about the same. There you go. Okay, so now we have all of our big pieces glued down. Let's set to work with all of our little pieces. So first what we're going to do is stamp, okay? And I just took scrap strips here. I'm going to use, first I'm going to use my Sweet Sorbet ink. And I'm going to use the stamp that was one of those little frames. Welcome, Marilyn. Thanks for joining us. Okay. So first I'm going to go ahead and I need 6 of these guys. So see, that one got kind of yucky. So I'm going to do an extra one as well. And that's why I got out 2 strips of the basic white cardstock, so that if I needed to make any extras, I could. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're good. Okay, I'm gonna put that away because it's red and I'll lay down in it. You know me. Okay, now I have my letters. I don't have very many of the little 1 inch by 1 inch blocks. So what I did is I just put my letters on the corners of a little bit bigger blocks. Because it's such a small amount, I can ink just that little edge. I can ink just that little edge that has the letter I want. So now I'm going to use the pale papaya ink. And I'm going to start with my T. Make sure I line it up inside that frame. Clean that off. Now I've got the H. Okay. Now A. know I may need to re-ink these pads, these ink pads, because that's really light. Okay, N. K. And S. There. Okay. Close up the ink pad. And now what we're going to do is we're going to punch these out using this adorable little punch of mine. Welcome, Shelley. Thanks for joining us. A little hint I'll give you for these, because you need to line them up, right, so that the little margins around the stamped image are about the same. What I recommend, because my hands get sort of shaky, and then, you know, I'm kind of all over the place trying to hold it, you know. So what I do is I use my thumb to kind of stabilize it. Well, I'm glad you got the notice too, Shelley. Okay, then let's see here. Got the A, the N, okay, is it just me, or is anybody else thoroughly satisfied watching the piece pop out of the punch like that? I don't know why it gives me such a thrill, but it does. I'm easily amused. Okay, and then we got our S. There we go. Set them there just like that. Now, the banner pieces that I want to show you a little trick that I did here. When you punch out the banner end, it cuts off a bit beyond the end, right? So you've got your little points, but it cuts off a little extra. So if you want your banner to be a certain length, you cut it that length, then you punch it, and it's no longer that length, right? Also, another problem that I run into is these pieces, I only wanted them to be 1.5 inches long. Well, if I put 1.5 inches in here, it's not long enough to come out this side, and that makes it hard to line it up and make sure that it's straight in there. So what I've done is, let me show you. I've just got a long strip here that is 3/4 inch wide. And I push it in there. Oh, I have it closed. Okay, so push it in there and then punch it. Now what I'm going to do is take my trimmer and I'm going to line it up so that the points are at 1.5 inches, and I'll cut the banner now. So it does take a little longer to have to cut these one at a time like this, but like I said, this way they're the length that you want them, and the piece is long enough to be able to maneuver it inside the punch. And in this case, we're only cutting 6, so it's not like we'll be cutting all night long. So we've got another one here. Okay, here you go, Marcy. This is for you. I'm gonna make it pop so you can see it pop. Like I said, I'm easily amused, so, you know, I don't have a whole lot of super exciting things in my life, so, you know, things like this are where I find my excitement. today I got my paper pumpkin kit that I showed you guys. And I do this every month when I get my kit. I go and do like an unboxing demonstration for my husband where I show him all the oohs and ahs of all the different pieces. He absolutely could not care less. He has absolutely no interest in stamping, and half the time he doesn't even know what I'm talking about. But he does make all the appropriate sounds, all the oohs and ahs that I expect. And so therefore I get, a little bit of satisfaction that I need of showing this amazing paper pumpkin kit. So we did that tonight before I went live. And I'm sure he feels so much better for having done it. He can sleep tonight knowing what's in this month's paper pumpkin kit, right? Okay, these are just leftover scraps. I'm going to move them. Okay. Move my punches out of the way. One thing about our punches, by the way, if you don't have any of them, you may not know this. See how this is open like this? You can close them and you push that little button and it holds it closed. So they just take up a little less room when you do that. Okay. Are you ready for this amazingness? Yes, I said amazingness. Okay. We've got our little banners. And now I'm going to take, I chose to use the liquid glue for this too, just because they're so small. I knew it would be easier to glue all my little letters down. Whoops. There we go. Again, you don't need a whole lot of glue. Not only does it warp your paper if you use too much glue, but it scooshes out the sides and stuff and makes a mess, and then you have glue all over your fingers, and it's a pain. So, ... not a lot. Yes, Marcy, it's the little things. It's the little things. Especially, we live in a world where there is so much stuff that we could focus on and be unhappy about. And let's face it, we all do sometimes, right? Whether it's in our personal lives or just the state of the world. And, when we can just focus on the little things, it takes our focus off of those. Oh, you know what? I need one more of these. It takes our focus off of some of those bigger things that just aren't very pretty in our lives. And even if it only makes you happy for a moment, that's one more moment that you were happy. Deep Thoughts by Heather. Okay. And apparently I can't count because I needed 6 of these little banners. Okay, let's get my strip of paper. And get my punch again. Open it back up. I have to be careful. I don't want to lose that teeny tiny little guy. Easy to remake, but you don't want to if you don't have to, right? Okay. Okay. There we go. And you can see I left a little bit of room at the top because that's where we're going to put our bows. Let's go ahead and I'm trying to decide if I should put them on the card and then do the bows. Let's do the bows first. It really doesn't matter, I suppose. Okay, So I've got all my little bows, and I wanted to show you for the bows, I used the Fan Baker's Twine pack, and it comes in this kind of a forest green, comes in what was Misty Moonlight, but we retired it and now I'm sad. But it does work with other blues, and it would be beautiful with this card as well. And then kind of a red and white twisty sort of. It's a really awesome little pack. I love that we're coming out with more colors of Baker's Twine because I love to use the Baker's Twine. It's easy to tie and you get good little bows with it. Okay, so now I am just going to use glue dots to glue these down. So actually, I think the best way to do this, because the dots are a little bit bigger than the bow, and I don't want them totally sticking out. So there's one. I'm just going to use my Take Your Pick tool, put it right on the back there. This takes a little bit of time to do, only because they're so small. Oops. Okay, so now that bow is kind of funky because it's sort of crooked, right? There we go. Okay. Find out where all my little dots are here. Okay, next one. I want to pull my tails down before I put the adhesive on. The other thing is, if you have to adjust your bow a little bit, like I just did, where I had to pull my tails down, the glue dot will help hold that in place. Okay. This is getting wrapped around the tip of my Take Your Pick tool. And the problem with that is that then when that happens, it's really hard to get it off. Okay. Put this one on the back of this little guy. Okay, I don't even know where, oh, that one didn't even come off. Okay. Phineas keeps going under the bed that's in here. This room used to be my stepson's room before he moved out. And, well, he's a boy. And, you know, there's just all sorts of nastiness going on under the bed, I'm sure. And Phineas likes to crawl under there and find all sorts of goodies. So he comes out chewing on something, and I have no idea what he's found. I probably don't even want to know. However, he did one time come out with a big unicorn pillow that's like, well, now it's about half his size, but when he first pulled it out, it was like bigger than him. And he loves that unicorn pillow, and he carts it all over the house. It's super, super, super funny. Yes, this does take a lot of patience, Colleen. Okay. And it's not like I could pre-assemble them before tonight's live, right? At least I was able to pre-tie the bows. Okay. Last one, you guys. Wow, the tails on this one are a lot shorter than the other ones. Okay. Last one. Oops. Sure, it's the last one, and now it's going to try to give me fits. But you know what I say, show it who's boss. Okay. That one's kind of funky, but that's okay. So now we're going to put these down on the front of our card. Now what I did is I laid them down first so that I'd see about where they are for spacing. I wanted to make sure that, they were relatively the same distance apart. Okay, I think that looks good. So now what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to take my dimensionals, and I'm just going to lift these one at a time. And place it right back where it was. Some of these dimensionals, when they were cut, it cut through this backing paper, so the backing paper comes off too, and you have to tear it off separately. Drives me nutso. Oops, I forgot to take the backing off. Okay, let's try that again. Now on these, you want to kind of make sure that they're kind of lined up the same as the opposite as far as how far from the top they are. Gosh darn it. Okay. Now do the H. Oops. Wow, that one is considerably different than the other one, isn't it? I keep picking up my glue dots. Okay. Okay, so there we go, all lined up. So that card, it takes a little while because of the detail, but it is still very Switch. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Colleen. I know how to spell. Okay, let's see here. Let's try this again. Colleen saved the day. Okay, Thanks. Okay, got it now. Mary and Colleen both let me know. Okay, thank you. So we've got that card. Like I said, it takes a little while just because there's a lot of little pieces and a lot of little details, but it was simple to make. So there we go, card number 2. Move these out of the way and we'll get going on card number 3. For card number 3, I'm using another new sentiment set called Good Feelings, and it's got these nice big sentiments in it, and I like big sentiments like that. We're also going to use the seasonal labels dies. I've used these before. You know that I love them because they're super versatile year-round, even though they say seasonal. And wait, there's more. We're going to use the Artistic Mix masks. Let me show them to you. I'll show you where they are in the catalog as well. But you've got that one where you can do just these little shapes for like a tag or whatever. Then there's this one where it's a grid. There's this one. I love this. I think this is really cool. There's also this one with the little flowers. And finally, this one, which is what we're going to use tonight. Also, on that first one that I said you can make the little labels with, you also get the pieces that were cut out. So you could trace them, you could do all sorts of fun things with them. So, and then I just, to let you know, I go ahead and I go on to my website and I pull up this item, these masks, and it has a little picture of all the different masks that come with it. And then what I do is I print that out and I put it in my little folder or envelope where I keep these, because then when I have multiple packs of these, or even if I just have the one but I don't remember what all the individual masks look like, I can just look at this and I know what's in there. So, little tip for you on that. Okay, so this is another one. It's an easy card. This is what we're going to make, okay? This is the inside, and when we get to the point that we do this piece, I'll tell you what I did different from what I'm going to do tonight, okay? So let's start with our envelope. Well, actually, we're going to do our envelope. We're going to do the inside of the card. Get that here. And then our card front, okay? We're going to do these all at the same time. Excuse me. I didn't do mine all at once when I was making the card because I was kind of creating as I went, which is kind of my design process. But the bad thing about that is you'll see what I do to prep with my mat. I had to keep redoing that because I would think I was done. I would put it away and then I would go, oh, I want to do this here too. And so I'd have to do it again. So I'm lining this up on my grid paper so that I can make sure that it's straight. And I'm just using a little bit of tape to hold it in place. And then for the envelope, I'm taking my scrap. This is just the scrap I used earlier for the embossing powder. What I'm going to do is I go like this. So the envelope is inside, but the flap is folded over. And I'm going to put just a teeny tiny bit of my seal on the back. And the reason I'm doing that is because then it will hold this in place so I don't have to worry about it wiggling around. And I'm lining this up with the lines on my grid paper so that I make sure that this is also straight, okay? So there we go. Now I'm going to take my Tahitian Tide ink. I'm going to take my blender brush, blending brush, however you say it. Tap off a little bit of excess there, and then just start swirling it around. And you can put as much or as little as you want. One thing I found that I really like about this particular mask, and you'll be able to see this even better when we pull it out, but it kind of does it a little darker around the plastic pieces of the mask and a little lighter in the centers of those squares, so it gives it some natural shading. I really like it. Now we just peel it off. See how it's darker around the edges? I love that. So that's how I did the envelope there. I'm going to get this out of the way now. I don't need that anymore. And see, by having this taped along the top there, I can just flip it up and down as I need it. This is my piece for the front of my card. I'm just going to put, again, a little bit of adhesive, maybe a little tiny bit of adhesive so it holds it in place but not so much that it makes it difficult to pull it up off of my paper, off my grid paper. I'm lining it up. Okay, actually I think it'll be okay. Okay, so now ink it up. And you can see it go, I mean, it's really pretty quick to lay all that ink down. Get the extra off. Now, of course, the bigger the piece of paper, the longer it takes. But as you saw, it doesn't take very long at all. Now, if you don't know why I am tapping it off, after I ink it up, I tap it off to the side. The reason I do that is because there's like little blobs of ink there, and if I go directly on my paper, I'm gonna get a splotch of ink right where it starts, and it's not terrible, but I don't want that. I don't want a splotch of ink. I want it to be pretty uniformly blended everywhere. So I tap it off on my paper first. Okay, I think this one is good. And now I'm just going to lift this off, set it off to the side. Now the last one I have, this is the inside of our card, and I'm going to show you what I did different, what I'm doing different now than I did from when I made the card. When I made the original one, I thought it would be fun to have kind of an uneven edge like that, but, and I'll show you how I did that in a minute, but I didn't feel like it looked exaggerated enough to look intentional. So it kind of looked like maybe my paper had moved, and I didn't want that. So this time I'm going to do just a straight line. But the way I did it, in case it's something you want to do, is I just took my, I have Post-it tape here. Make a strip that is long enough to go across like this, okay? But what I did, just to show you, what I did when I made my original one is I tore it lengthwise as well, so that I put the torn edge facing here. So when I blended it, it had that torn look. But like I said, it wasn't exaggerated enough for me, so I didn't quite feel like it looked intentional. And that is why I'm doing it different now. But it is a fun technique to do that. So I'll probably do it on something else. Okay, now I'm going to put this strip down, say right about there. I'm going to lay down the mat there, the mask. And we're only going to do this corner up to that Post-it tape. And I, of course, am getting Tahitian tied all over. Phineas, what are you doing? He likes to get into my paper. It does get a bit messy. As you can see, I'm getting Tahitian tied all over my fingers. An easy resource for getting that off, just so you know, is lava soap. It has moisturizers in it, so it's not horrible on your skin, but it has pumice in it as well, so it washes that ink right off. If you don't care about, like, I don't care if I go to bed with this ink on, wash your hair when you get up in the morning. When you wash your hair, it does the same thing and gets that ink off. Oh. Hey, get out of there. He's helping himself to my designer series paper. Okay. Oh, see, I didn't go down far enough here, and I have an edge. And I don't know if I like that, but I might be able to line it up. Let's just see if I can line this up. Okay, that's where it was. if I can line it up to match a little bit higher, I can get this bottom part. Okay, let's try it. Let's give it a whirl, guys. There. Okay. Oh, that doesn't look lined up, does it? That's okay. We'll do it this way. We'll do it this way. Doesn't look like it's lining up quite right. I may have to just accept my fate, you guys. That's okay. We're just going to accept it and go with it. Okay. Now, when it comes to cleaning this off, let me show you. It's super easy. First, I'm going to peel off my tape and see how it gives a nice sharp edge there. Ooh, I have an idea how I can fix this because it's so going to bother me. But let me show you first how I clean these. Now, I just set it inside my little plastic case that I keep my chamois in, and then just go like this. Voila! And then, you know, give it a moment to dry before you put it away. It doesn't take long. It really only takes a moment or two because it's not like it's super wet. Okay, I have my trimmer out, and so I'm going to make this piece a little smaller than it normally is, but at least it won't bother me having that white edge. Problem solved. If I don't like you, I'll just cut you out of my life. How's that? Okay, so you can see the difference here between my sharp edge and then my little bit of a deckled edge. And you can decide what you like better. See? So anyway, okay, so let's get going on this card. Now it's going to get very quick and easy. Okay, put some stuff away here. I'm going to go like this to get some of that extra ink off my brush. And I don't wash my brushes. I try to use like bluish greens are all I'll use on this one. I have one for dark blues, one for light blues. You know, and I try to use similar colors, and I think of it like a cast iron pot where you just season, you know, you let it season. Same idea. Hey, Cheryl, welcome. Okay, so for our card, we've got our pieces. This is a standard 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Make our crease nice and sharp. Let's glue this onto the inside. There we go. And now we've got a few other small pieces here. We have this basic black and the piece that we colored with the mask. Let's glue them together. And I've just got a teeny tiny little black border there. Just enough to pop it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black gingham ribbon. I was so glad to see this carry over to the annual catalog. And I'm just going to tie a little bow. Bows make me happy. If you don't like bows, if you're not good at bows, keep tying them because you'll get better. But in the meantime, while you're getting bows that you don't like, you can always just tie a little square knot. Okay. So now I'm going to just cut my tails. As I cut off my part of my finger doing that. I want my tails to be sort of the same length, you know? They don't have to be exact, but I don't want them to be, one to be significantly longer than the other. There we go. Okay, now, as you can see, my ribbon is a little loose here, right? So I'm going to show you an easy way to fix that. I don't like the way that's sitting there. It bothers me. And you know what happens when things bother me? I have to sit there and pick at them forever. Okay. See, and now my little end is all frayed. And the trauma of it all. Okay. So I'm getting this wrapped around so that my bow is right about where I want it to be, okay? Then I'm going to flip it over here and prepare yourself. I'm going to cut it. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little strip of my tear-in tape. I love the tear-in tape. It's a nice multi-purpose tape. And I'm going to pull this tight and tape it down. Now I'm going to get another little piece of the tape. We're running pretty long tonight, you guys. I'm really sorry. I'm going to pull this side tight. Tape it down. There we go. Now it's nice and tight on the front. Okay? Next, we're going to take this white scrap that I have, and I'm going to stamp "Thank you" using my Tahitian Tide ink. And I'm just kind of putting it right there on my paper. Ooh, I got a little fuzzy, but that part, that little fuzzy thing there is going to get cut off, so I'm not worried about it. Okay. Put my ink away. Oh, see what I did? Just put my finger in it. I can't be trusted with an open ink pad. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my die. Where are my dies? I forgot that I didn't pre-cut this. Okay, the reason I didn't pre-cut it is because it does fit pretty tightly within that die. So I wanted to be able to stamp it first and then cut it. So let me grab my cutter. And this fits with the mini cutting and embossing machine. However, with our new one, we have a new magnetic plate that is awesome. Okay, so put these in here. I'm going to use a little bit of my Post-it tape to hold it in place. With the magnetic plate, you don't need to do this because the plate holds it in place. So I'm just going to stick this down. Feed this little baby through. Sorry for all the wiggling here. Okay. There we go. And that cut out very nicely. Put my dies away so I don't lose them. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this on our card front right about here under our bow. There we go. So it's going to kind of cover up the sentiment a little bit, but you can play with the bow to move it out of the way. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and use one of my one of my adhesive sheets. I can figure out, I thought I had some that I hadn't cut yet. I do. Here it is. Okay. Let's see. Now these pieces are going to be a little bit still a little bit longer than what I want. And those pieces that you just saw flying through the air, those will actually get thrown in my bin for when I need little tiny pieces like that. So it does not go to waste. Okay, so I'm going to put that along the bottom. Now the reason I'm doing this where I'm separating the pieces is because I want to have my ribbon go through the part where it's separated, so that it doesn't throw off the way it lays. Let's cut just a little bit more, just so we have some wiggle room. Okay. All these little pieces that went flying through the air. Okay, so now peel the back off. Oh, let's put it right side up. How's that? It's nice and straight. No, it's not. There we go. Now it is. And now you can play with the bow and make it lay the way you want it to lay. Let's go ahead and glue this down. And then we're going to put a few embellishments on it, and then we're going to call it good. Maybe. Oh, this is funny. I'm like finishing off a roll right here. But it's the last card, so that's okay. Okay. There we go. Now, for this, I'm using a couple of different embellishments. I'm going to use the Glossy Dots assortment, and we're going to put some of those kind of turquoisey ones on there, Pool Party, and then we're going to use some of the matte black dots as well. So let's start with the matte black dots. They're going to go on the tag. Yep, there's my take your pick tool. And let's see, we'll put a big one there, a little one, and then put another big one right there. And I did that, and then I just felt like it still needed a little something on it, but you could stop there if that's what you like. What I did is I took the Glossy Dots and I put a few big ones and a few medium-sized ones. So these have a different adhesive on the back, or other ones that have like a glue dot on the back. These, the whole back is adhesive, so they do require a little more effort, if you will, to take them off of the backing paper there. And I put these right in, there's a glue dot on my take your pick tool. Okay. There we go. And I liked putting them right where the intersection of those were. So let's do that again. And we'll do, let's see, a little medium-sized one maybe right there. And another big one right here. And then another medium-sized one over by our bow, sort of. Let's put it right there. Oops. Get this right where I want it. I want it, again, at the center of that intersection. Good enough. Okay, there we have it, guys. Let's put this away, and we'll kind of do a little revisit of all the cards we made tonight. I thank you for those of you who've hung in there, because this one was really long. Okay, so we've got this one that we used the decorative masks for. Let's move this out of the way. Just move some of this stuff, Heather. Okay. Oh, I just sent a brush flying. I'll pick that up in a little bit. Okay, so anyway, we've got this one. Let's put it like this so that it shows you the whole card. I like the other one better, so let's put it on the front. Okay, so there's that one. We have this one that we made. And then we also have this nice little fun fold that we made. So if you liked what you saw tonight, I would love it if you would give some hearts or some thumbs up. Let me know that you liked what you saw. Also, if you share the video, you never know who looks at your feed, who might be interested, and so I would appreciate if you share it. Also, remember, I upload this to YouTube when this is over, so if you need to catch the replay, you can do it either at YouTube, at my page, my channel, which is Stamp Happenings, or you can watch it here on my Facebook page. If you need to order any of the supplies that I use, some of these beautiful designer series papers, I would love to earn your business. You can place an order at my website at heathersides.stampinup.net. If you have any questions, you can certainly email me at stamphappenings@gmail.com, or you can send me a message here on Facebook. If you place an order, if your order is under $150, I would love it if you would use this host code. This helps me to be able to continue to provide these videos for free and to give prizes to those who participate. If your order is over $150, please don't use the code. Because what will happen is you will earn some free products from Stampin' Up! And I want to make sure that you're the one who gets them. So use the code, please. If your order is under $150, don't use it if your order is over $150. Thank you for sharing your evening with me tonight. I really do appreciate it. I love to stamp with you guys. I love the conversation that gets going. It's a lot of fun for me. It's probably the highlight of my week. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you guys all have a great week. See you next Wednesday. Oh, and don't forget, I'm doing my Paper Pumpkin Alternate Ideas on Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific time here on my Facebook page. Good night.